Occasionally teaches classes at Jones and has also taught at her Rigby Quilt Guild behind the scenes. She has developed her expertise by sewing many quilts and doing a lot of seamstering. Yes.
Very much so. Well, I was really pleased that Annie asked me to talk, and my daughter was there. I said, oh, it must be because in my quilt guild, behind the scenes, I did the newsletter for so many years. And my daughter says, no, that's not why she asked. She asked because you're nosy and you never stop talking. So, which is true. So I can't falter for that. So I've got a lot to talk about, and I'm going to run through it kind of quickly because I know all you ladies are tired of sitting. You want to go home, I have lots of handouts here. So if you've missed it, I've got a handout. So you can go ahead and look there. First thing I want to talk about, did you know we have a quilt museum here in Eastern Idaho? A lot of people have no idea. I didn't know, because I know that they've been trying to get a quilt museum over in this area, but it turns out it's in Lava Hot Springs, believe it or not. And in Lava Hot Springs, it is the South Bannock County Historical Center Museum. Now, what they've done is they've given them a little part of the museum to start hanging quilts in, which they do have quilts. But come May, they're going to have their grand opening, and they need your quilts. There is called Quilt Splash, an adventure in color. And they want the most colorful quilts that you have to be put into their quilt show. And you'll have them, you'll take them on in, you have to hang up a hanger for it, and it's going to run through September. Now, this is just still a small museum, and they are raising funds to actually build their own personal building here in Eastern Idaho, which would be wonderful for all of us to actually have a quilt museum. Very, very lucky to have that. And so I have that here, which I'm going to leave all these things on up here, okay? And that way you guys can come and take a look at this. Next, I want to talk about is quilt shows. If you're a quilter, you love quilt shows. That's why we're here, right? Because it's a quilt show. Hey, we want to go see what Herb Bills is doing, get inspired and things like that. Besides the one here in Shelley, in Ashton, they also have one in February. Sorry, you missed it. Okay, next year. And in March, we're going to have one in Rexburg. That's at the Tabernacle. And I don't know if you guys have ever been there. They have the Blood Museum underneath it. And they put all the quilts there in the Tabernacle. They lay them all out over the pews and everything. And they put some beautiful quilts there. And so that's in March. In June, this is near and dear to my heart, is the Rigby Museum has a quilt show, and this is from last one. And I've been running this quilt show for the last 6 years, so I know a lot about this quilt show. But this one is really nice. They have over 100 quilts, and they put them all through the museum. Now, it does cost you to go into the museum, but while you're there, you can look at all the quilts and everything else like that.
Where's that one?
This one is in Rigby. The TV Museum, yep, and that's what I've got here, and there's a flyer up here for you too. And this one's really nice. They have cash prizes, a big whopping $25 there, okay? But you know, they got 3 of those, and then the local quilt shops also donate prizes too. So you might win some fat quarters, or you might win a layer cake or a book or things like that. But this is a really nice one too. And there's no limit of how many quilts that you can enter to this one. They have room, they've done 100, they have room for 200 in there. So, I mean, they could run it down both sides of the museum. So don't ever think, oh, I've got quilts, but I really don't want to drive to Rigby if it's just put one quilt in. Heck, bring 10. We love them. The more the merrier. So we have that. In August, they have one in Island Park, which I have never been to, but my friend was telling me about, but it was really good. And in October, Port Neuf Valley, that's the Pocatello area, they do a quilt show. But they only do theirs only every other year. So last year they did one, so they're not going to have one coming this year, but they'll have another one next year. And that one's really nice to go to. And of course, all your county fairs, right? And then we have our big Eastern Idaho State Fair here in lovely Blackfoot. And those have lots of quilts to look at too. So you can get really inspired by all these things in quilts. They're all done by local people, which is nice because I've been to quilt shows in other areas, and they bring in some lovely, lovely quilts, but they people fly from all over to enter their quilts. I mean, they're spectacular. They're not local. So here we get all our local talent, which is really nice to see what we do here in Eastern Idaho. Our local quilt stores are also really great. They do lots of wonderful things, and I want to tell you what's coming on up. The first thing I want to talk to you is called Down the Road Shop Hop. This is a brand new thing that's happening. Jones and Daydream and Granny's and Sage Creek and All Stars and the Minky Shop, they're getting a bus. And for only $75 a person, which you must pay in advance because they got to pay the bus company first, they will take you on they say it's from like 8 to 8. It probably won't be, but what they'll do is you'll take a bus from Pocatello, from Idaho Falls, or from Rexburg. They're running 3 of them, and you will travel to all these different stores. And in each store, they are going to have demonstrations. They're going to be having sales and things like this. And on the bus, if you take the one from Idaho Falls or from Pocatello, they're doing like a fat core exchange, but they're going to do it in a game on the bus while you're traveling, so you'll have something to do. Yes?
We're signing up.
They are supplying a lunch for you.
Awesome.
So you don't have to worry about that. And so, and each one, and I know at the one at Granny's bus, they're going to have, if you go to one Rexburg, they're offering to give you an entry to win free fabric for a year, and they're going to give you a buy one, get one free for your quilt retreats from Granny's. So this is a really cool one they have coming up. This is brand new. So this is a lot of fun. And for those of you who don't like to drive or you want to go out and just meet new friends and people and catch all those great things, there is that.
So if you're from Shelley, do you go to Idaho Falls and get on the bus there?
You have to go to Idaho Falls or Pocatello, right? And that's where you would pay at, either Idaho Falls or Pocatello. You would get on that particular bus.
What are the dates?
And the dates for that one, sorry about that, that might have helped. May 17th. So I said all these will be up here so you can come take pictures of them or things like
And we'll
that.
have them all out tomorrow as well, so you can grab them.
Yes, and they'll make more copies of whatever they have that you guys need to know. So I've got I'm gonna leave all these here so that way nobody goes, oh, I can't write fast enough, or I don't remember everything. And then we have Quilter Stash Dash. This is where you go to stores just here in Idaho. Some of these stores are not, they started the Stash Dash because the other one is a big one, is called On the Trail Shop Hop. But On the Trail Shop Hop, if you had it out of your home or you were a smaller store, you couldn't do this because you didn't have the money. They didn't want anybody who sold things out of their own home. So they started the Quilter Stash Dash. And these are both in September to October. They run it for about 3 weeks.
Stash Dash is spring only now.
Well, that's what I was told it was.
I'm
Yeah.
the organizer.
Oh, wonderful. Here's somebody who knows more than I do, because the last gal I talked to, she says, oh, no, it's going to be these days in September and October.
We just changed, so it's we're only doing springtime so that we're not interfering with the shop hop and everything else. So
Wonderful. So we'll just cross that off out. I'm going to write springtime on this one.
it's
So.
always a cabin fever, so.
Well, perfect then. And I have some of the stores that have been listed in the past. I don't know if they're going to do it this year or not, because when I went onto the website, they still haven't updated it yet. So I didn't know anything, but I wanted to give you a look at some of the stores that have been there in the past.
I can get you an updated list tomorrow.
Perfect. I love this. This is wonderful. And the other big one is called On the Trail Shop Hop. This is a 600-mile circle. For those of you who have heard of this one, this covers Idaho, northern Utah, and western Wyoming. I have never been over to the Wyoming stores, I have to admit. I've always gone to one way, because it takes 2 days for most people. You have to spend the night somewhere. But for a lot of people, that's half the fun of it. They get away from their husband, the kids. You get a big car with a big trunk, and you just add all the fabric you can into it. So it's a really fun one to do. And these are some of the stores that have participated in the past, and they will update this as it gets closer and things along those lines. But I love these different things that give you the opportunity to go out with a group of friends, because I think that's half the fun of quilting and going to quilt stores is shopping with a friend. And over the last month, my sister-in-law and my girlfriend, we went and visited all the shops. Not that we had to for this, but it was a perfect excuse to go shopping, right? So I'm going to start, since I live in Rigby, I started in Teton and I worked my way on down. So that's where my stores are. Well, actually I went to Ashton too, but that's at the end of my little spiel. So the first store I started with was Shogun Crafts, and that's in Teton. And she has a store that's only open Monday through Friday. It's not open on Saturdays or Sundays. But in January, she puts all her cottons at 50% off. Everything in the store, cotton-wise, is 50% off. She also puts her notions of her Yankee on also, but every year in January, save up your patterns that you want to get, go there. Hey, it's awesome.
It's every J month.
Yes, and she also runs sales in June and July, that's correct. And so she's a fun store. They also offer hem stitching there. And they have lines like Blank, Harry Glass, Riley Blake, Kaufman, and Mason, Timeless Travels. Timeless treasures, not travels. The next one is Granny's House in Rexburg, which, you'll hear before. Yes. Yes,
One more thing about Shogun, they have the best novelty prints.
they have.
If you can't find something, if you go there, we found office prints. It's
Yes.
like, how do you find the office? But she had it.
I also like, because it seems like, and sometimes they have some of the older prints too, and you're like, oh, crap, I'm never gonna find this again. Try there. She often has some of the older prints there, which is really nice. I love Granny's Fabric Shop. They're in Rexburg. And their store is unique, and they're calling a thing called, what is a Sassy Sunflower Half Price Pack? And it has 5 half-yard cuts, and it's enough to make a quilt top or a tote or things like that. And they sell them right in packs. So they have the cutest material, which I really just love from them. They are a nice store. They do long arming there, as you see. Rexburg has some great long armors if you like to do that. And they carry Moda, and they also host a lot of retreats, Granny's does. They are really good about hosting retreats. And if you browse the retreats, they are great. And lots of classes, yes.
The Sassy Pack also comes with a free pattern.
Yes, it does.
You buy the pack and you get free pattern.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and then we have Ollie and Evie Quilt Shop there in Louisville. And the first time I drove out there, I thought my GPS took me to the wrong spot, okay? Because at the beginning, it was in her house, and it was on the farm. And you're driving on up, it's like there's cows, and there's a barn, and there's a tractor. Where am I? I'm lost. Nope. And I was like, do I go in the front door or the back door? And then I realized, you go in the front door. The back door's for classrooms. Hey, you learn. And they do lots of retreats at Ollie's and Evie's. And they have really good food. In fact, they have a retreat you can sign up for now here on June. And here's the overview of this one. And they hold it at the Louisville Community Center. So this is really nice. And they have lodging available at the farmhouse. And so these are the patterns that they're going to be working on. And if you love retreats and good food, Ollie and Evie is your store. And of course, Daydreams, Idaho Falls. I think just about everybody's shopped at Daydreams before, haven't you? Daydreams is awesome. They also host the Quilts of Valor, which you'll be hearing from tomorrow from me. They carry Moda, Riley Bray, Kenny Glass, Michael Miller, Art Gallery. They offer lots of classes, and they have lots of open sews there. So that's a really good place to go if they have an open sew. They have a huge, not a huge area, but they have a large area in the back that does really well. They offer long arming. And one of my favorite things about them is they have a wall of patterns. That's excellent, because you go in there, you want inspiration. They've got all the patterns, and then you just go right over there and find your material you're working on. We've got Jones Sew and Bath, both here in Idaho Falls and in Pocatello. And they have quilting supplies, and they also sell sewing machines, embroidery machines, and they do Clinique long arms, I believe. But since they do a lot of embroidery, they do Kimberbill. So those of you who love to embroider and put them into quilts, they have lots of Kimberbill classes. And so they are really good. In fact, if you don't know what you're doing, they will teach you how to use your embroidery machine. They're awesome on that one. And so they also have a repair shop on site. So if your machine's not acting up, they've got some great repair guys. They've repaired mine and they've been wonderful. Then my shop that's near and dear to me, it's right here in Shelley. So I'm quilting with Janice. Now Janice is a one-man band. That means you, especially if you live out of the area, call before you come, because if she's sick or the hubby is, the store's going to be closed. And so you really want to make sure you do that. And what I really like about this Shelley store is they sell batting and interfacing by the yard. And I don't know about you, if you go buy a package of batting, it's either too small or it's way too big. You've got all lots of little pieces that you gotta sit there and stitch together for another quilt and things like that. And so I like going down there and having her cut just the size I need. When I first started, I had never used wool, believe it or not. When my husband in the military, he had been in Texas and things like that, you don't use a lot of wool. So I went in and she's like, oh, you've got to try this wool batting. So I took my topping, she cut me up the wool, and I'm hooked on wool now. And it's great, she sells it right there. And if you do like it, she can order it for you, which is really nice. And she'll order on in, because I've ordered through the internet before, and the packages have shown up, ripped, a hole in them, pulled my batting out, and they're nasty. Janice is right there. She'll deny and say, I'm not going to take that. That's ruined. Take it back. So you're not going to get stuck with a nasty little batting if you have to order that one. And I talked to her starting tomorrow, this week only. If you go in and you say, I heard about you at the Shelley Quilt Show, she's going to give you 15% off your purchase. Perfect. So starting tomorrow, go to her shop, get 15% off everything she has. Okay. Whoops, there we go. The next one is the Craft Stock Shop in Blackfoot. And I didn't know this one existed till, was it a year or so ago when they did the Stash Dash? This is you. And I went in there and I was really impressed. And I noticed that right up in front, they have this beautiful pattern of Idaho. This is their quilt pattern. And I thought, any of you who are proud of your state of Idaho, you've got to come in there and get this quilt pattern from them, because did you design it?
I did.
She designed it. I mean, it is beautiful. And I was just like, I've got to tell everybody about this one. They have a large classroom off to the side, and they offer long arming. And I also noticed that they offer classes on long arming. So if you want to get into it, it's really nice to go try it out before you put all that money into it. And them offering a class is wonderful. They also have open sew on Saturdays and Tuesdays, and they carry some craft supplies too. So it's a great little store. In Pocatello, they have All Star Sage Creek and Sewing, and they have lots of different quilting cottons down there. They offer classes and quilt retreats, and they have a repair shop there also for sewing machines. So there's a couple different places you can go to. And the other one is Sew and Stitches in Pocatello, and they do a lot of retreats out of that one there. And they carry Andover, Art Gallery, Henry Glass, Hoffman, Riley Blake, and all those other good ones. And the Happy Hands Quilting Group actually meets there at their store. And what I understand, Happy Hands is a hand stitching class. So if you like to do hand stitching, there's the one you want to get into. Now there's a couple different stores also that deal with quilting, but they don't have that. Gary's Sewing Center in Idaho Falls and in Pocatello, they don't offer any kind of material, but they sell sewing machines and long arms. And if you want to get a handy quilter, go there. They have lots of classes for you. They can teach you on that one. They have a repair shop, and they have thread out the yin yang. So I love going there for all my different colors of thread. I went to B&R Hem Stitching, and I guess she runs this out of her house, but she does hem stitching, and she does have some flannel in her basement for purchase. Not a whole bunch. I guess she had a store in Blackfoot, and it went under. So she had to move it to her house. And the last
It didn't go under.
it didn't go under?
No. The landlord sold out from underneath.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. This is,
Yes.
What does she call it now? Has she changed the name?
It's called, yeah, it's still called B&R Hem Stitching. So, right.
and I have her kids, some of her kids at my shop as well, and I can get you in touch with
All
her.
right. And the last one is the Minky Quilt Shop in Ashton, and that's part of the down the road one. And the Minky Shop in Ashton just sells Minky. I mean, that's what its name is. That's what they do. And so if you're looking for Minky, that's a good place to go. be aware that their shop hours are funky there. Call ahead. It's a long drive all the way up to Ashland to find out they're closed. So I always call ahead with them. So on to, how do I find out all this information? You're saying, Diane, are you really just that nosy? Well, actually, the best place to find out all this information, besides I am nosy, I know, is your local quilt guilds. And we have a lot of local guilds here in our area. And I've printed off a couple newsletters here from the Snake River Valley Guild, the one there in Idaho Falls, and here's the one from Rigby for the last month. And so I'm going to leave these here for everybody to look at.
When did those meet?
Right here, I've got it all printed up. I've got them right here for you and what information I can find. You know, I messaged all the quilt guilds I could, and not all of them got back to me. But the ones I could, I've got on here. And we have one in Idaho Falls called A Common Thread. It doesn't have a Facebook group. I can get a hold of them. Sorry, I don't. If anybody knows the information, I'll be glad to write it down on here. We have the Behind the Scenes Quilt Guild, which is from Rigby. That's the one I'm in.
What's it called?
Behind the Scenes Quilt Guild. And they meet the first Wednesday of every month at the Senior Citizen Center at 7 o'clock. But on that first Wednesday, they also open for Open Sew at 2 o'clock. We've got the Blackfoot Peacemakers Guild. That's the fourth Thursday in Blackfoot. We've got the Burton Group that's up by Rexburg, for those of you who don't know. And they meet every Tuesday. They do sewing from 10 to 5. So if you like a group who just likes to sew and have potluck, if you want to drive all the way up towards Rexburg, nice people. The Happy Hands Quilt Club, that's one like everybody keeps telling about, but I can't get any information, but that was a hand stitching one. We've got the Mountain Valley Quilt Guild, that's in Rexburg. They're on the fourth Wednesday. We've got the Port Neuf Valley one in Pocatello. They're on the third Thursday. They meet at All Stars Sages Quilting Store. We've got the Snake River one. They're in Idaho Falls. And they're the third Thursday. And then we got the Stitch and Giggle one in Blackfoot. And they're the first Thursday at the community library here in Blackfoot. And on here,
Snake River.
Snake River, yeah. They have what I got all this information up here, and some of them I have their yearly dues on here for you, so you kind of know. Most guilds have a yearly due. The most is $25. They range from 15 to 25. And quilt guilds are really great for getting you all the information you need. Most of them have a newsletter and everything like that. Most guilds, yes.
Just for everyone's information, the Snake River Historical Homestead is going to be starting a guild here in Shelley
Oh,
in 2026.
Will they be
Excellent.
after business hours for those of us who work?
I don't know, they haven't decided what time they're meeting. I just know that it'll be out at one of the cabins. It'll be at the Winston Educational Cabin during the summer, and then during the winter, they're gonna try to meet here at the library.
That North Bingham County,
I'm sorry, what?
that Clark.
Yeah.
Behind the North Bingham County Park where the Snake River Historical Homestead is.
Yeah.
So, that's good. Most quilt guilds just open to whoever, I mean, are they pretty like, just walk in and they're just, you know, you can join whichever one, they're not like a closed.
no, most of them are not closed, not unless there's some sort of specialty group in which there are some, like I said, the Happy Hands, they deal with just the one thing. Most quilt guilds are very welcoming. They love new members, and they have from very beginners. In our Rigby Quilt Guild, we had a lady walk into the sewing machine and didn't know how to thread it. And she says, I want to learn how to quilt. So we said, this is the perfect spot for you. And then I've had women we have one in our big behind the group quilt. She's almost 90 years old. She's been quilting since she was about that high. She knows everything, you know. And so we have guilds have from very small to very big with knowledge. And this is what we do. Most guilds are going to start off with a welcome, and they're going to welcome all new members or visitors. And in the Port Neuf Valley, if you're thinking about joining new, they're going to have an older person mentor you a little bit. They're actually going to, and that person will introduce you to the rest of the guild, which is really cool. When they do that, most of them will all do charity work. Most guilds thrive on charity work. And you're thinking, well, I'd love to make charity quilts, but I can't afford to do all that. You know, because let's face it, quilting is not a cheap hobby. Most guilds will supply just about anything you need. Batting usually for sure. And I know our behind the scenes guild has in the Senior Citizen Center, we have a room that's filled with fabric. And you can go in and choose the fabric that you want to work with for your pattern, and they supply the backing and everything else. And then you can bring your top on in, and somebody else in the guild will volunteer to tie it or to long arm it for free. And then they bring it back and they ask somebody, who would like to put the binding on? So maybe you just like to put binding on. Maybe you just, and so you can choose how much you want to do when it comes to charity. The Port Neuf Valley one, they sent quilts to Maui with theirs, and they do locally, of course. A lot of our our Rigby one, we do anything that comes with a patriotic theme, we take to the veterans home. And sometimes I take it down. My husband is an Air Force vet, 27 years. And so I take it down to the hospital in Salt Lake City, down to the Veterans Hospital. So all the ones that are killed are patriotic, goes right down to the hospital there. It's on my way to my daughter in Spanish Fork, and I will take quilts there a couple times a year to give to service members or higher service members that are stationed there. Our guild tries to donate at least 35 quilts, twin size, to there's a cancer camp that's up north from us, and all the kids who come to the cancer camp get a quilt every year. And so they will be given a quilt and they get to choose them. So we try to supply quilts for them every year. Our guild in Rigby also does a really nice thing. Every Christmas we do a doll quilt and a doll or a stuffed toy. And we give those to police officers to carry around in their cars for children that have been in an accident or domestic violence or things like that. And so there's lots of different charity things that you can do with your guild. Most guilds have a raffle table. Oh, I love the raffle table. For a small amount of money, you can go home with a treasure. And every year they ask if you have something that maybe a project that you're tired of, I'm done with this, you can bring it on in and they'll put it in the raffle table and people will fight for your stuff. They'll be great. And a lot of the local stores will donate items and so you can get new stuff. Our guild in Rigby, we are a very elected group. We have Doris who does the dairy, and she brings in fresh cream and eggs and puts it on our raffle table. It is awesome. Let me tell you, you've never had the fresh cream from the cow that day. It's wonderful. So those are wonderful things you can get with your quilt guilds. There's lots of different things that I would say always look at your quilt guild and you can get all the information you need. And there's usually somebody in your guild that knows a lot. Any questions I could ask anybody or anybody would like to ask? Very quiet group here. I think everybody wants to go home. So, well, thank you for listening to me. Oh, yes. Up here, I've got flyers printed on out. They're here on the clipboards for everything. And they can make more flyers up here, the library is. So it talks about the Heritage Museum, when quilt shows are, all about our local quilt stores, and all the information I have about local quilt guilds. And so that way you can get involved and do as much as you like and have lots of fun quilting and learn lots of new things. All right, thank you, everybody.